It pains me, as it was difficult to process. Reddit tales of betrayal, a genuine story of relationship struggles. Your presence is cherished. With a significant portion of our viewers yet to join us, your support is essential for us to continue crafting captivating content. We invite you to subscribe and gently tap the notification bell to stay connected. We'd love to hear from you. Share your city in the comments below, and let us feel the warmth of your presence. Who could have imagined that a seemingly ordinary backyard barbecue would set off a chain of events that would change everything? The tradition began many years ago, in a time when we were all more carefree, with fewer obligations and an abundance of moments to savor. A circle of friends, united by the bonds formed in college, journeying together through the tapestry of life, celebrating marriages, welcoming children, and navigating the twists of career paths. As time passed, those informal gatherings blossomed into a cherished ritual, one we nurtured with care, regardless of the chaos that life often brought our way. Even though we had grown, navigated our own lives, and nurtured our families, the connection we shared remained timeless and profound. That Saturday evening, much like those that had come before, we found ourselves enveloped in the warmth of Scott and Andrea's home. The warmth of the air enveloped us, while the enticing aroma of grilled delicacies danced through the backyard, mingling with the joyful laughter of our children echoing softly in the distance. It was clear to me that something had shifted in the air that evening. Perhaps it was the way my wife, Gina, would catch John's gaze, or how his eyes seemed to hold her attention just a moment longer than necessary. In that moment, I chose to overlook it. John had experienced a journey filled with deep emotions. The hardships of his beloved Marcy a year prior had changed him into a mere echo of the vibrant man he used to be. We had all been pouring our hearts into supporting him, gently urging him to embrace the journey ahead. I never envisioned that embracing the future would involve looking at my wife with such depth. The following morning unfolded much like the ones before it. Gina and I cherished our weekend ritual, allowing ourselves to linger in bed a bit longer, sharing a warm shower, and then gently parting to embrace the day ahead. She often filled her mornings with a gentle embrace of a book or the warmth of laughter shared with friends, while I immersed myself in the rhythmic dance of working on my car in the garage. But that morning, just as I was on the verge of leaving, she gently held me back. "Darling, we have something important to discuss." Her voice carried a gentle, wavering quality. I turned, a wave of intuition washing over me, knowing that her words would carry a weight I wasn't ready to bear. We lingered at the kitchen table, a curious tension enveloping us. Gina averted her gaze, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee mug with a delicate restlessness. Last night, John finally revealed something to me. I gave a soft nod. "What do you have in mind?" She inhaled slowly, savoring the moment. "He feels prepared to embrace the world of dating once more." A wave of tranquility enveloped me. "That's wonderful. He is worthy of joy," she went on, her voice lingering in the air. "He finds himself drawn to someone, a person who has captured his heart for quite some time." There was a quality in her voice that stirred something deep within me. "Are we familiar with her?" As her eyes locked with mine, a profound understanding washed over me in that fleeting instant. "It's me," she murmured softly. All fell quiet in the room. Initially, a soft chuckle escaped me, as I believed she was merely teasing. John had been a cherished part of our lives for years. It felt impossible, yet Gina remained silent. Her lips remained uncurled. In that moment, a realization washed over me. This transcended John's emotions. It was all about her. My heart raced within me as I summoned the courage to voice the question whose answer I was already aware of. "Are you considering ending our marriage?" Her eyes sparkled with a hint of urgency. She said, "Not now, Henry. I wish to hold on to what we have. My heart is drawn to you in ways words can scarcely capture. I desire to remain united with you in this journey of life." I gazed at her, my heart racing with a mix of wonder and longing. "What is this, then?" She extended her hand towards me, yet I hesitated and withdrew. "Just hear me out," she implored. "I feel compelled to share it all with you." I prepared myself, aware that what lay ahead would transform everything. She inhaled deeply, her breath trembling as she prepared to speak once more. It's fascinating how our group shares those college memories, while you bring a fresh perspective to our dynamic, she began. I gave a gentle nod. John and I crossed paths in an English class. We began our journey together, and love blossomed between us. We even shared our thoughts on a future together. A heaviness settled within me. Then one evening, after a few drinks, John and Marcy found themselves making a decision that changed everything. I tensed. What is it? They insisted it was an error. My heart ached deeply, yet I found the strength to forgive them. Then, a few months later, Marcy discovered the tender news of her pregnancy. A shiver ran through me as the truth began to unfold. John made the choice that felt true, she continued. He united his life with Marcy, and I endeavored to let go. Her gaze met mine, glistening with unshed tears. And then our paths intertwined. The heaviness of her words enveloped me. For 20 years, I never imagined that my wife had unresolved emotions tied to someone from her past, a man I considered one of my closest friends. Had Marcy not passed away, I would have remained unaware. I whispered with a hint of sorrow. Gina cast her eyes downward. We believed that if you were aware, it might cast a shadow over your bond with John. I released a soft, empty chuckle. Indeed, my heartfelt congratulations to you. It feels shattered. She hesitated for a moment, but continued with determination. I want to share this with you, because I have a question for you. I prepared myself for what was to come. I found myself contemplating how you might respond to the idea of us exploring a connection with him together. Time stood still. The words lingered in the atmosphere, enveloping me in their weight. I rose abruptly, my chair toppling behind me. Shall we connect? My voice held a sense of disbelief. Is there someone else in your heart? No, Henry, not quite. Allow me a moment to share my thoughts. I was trembling with a deep, consuming intensity. Do you feel what I'm saying, Gina? I spoke softly, my fingers curling around the keys. I must take my leave before words slip out that I might wish to take back. Her voice lingered in the air as I stepped beyond the threshold, leaving her words behind. I drifted through the streets, lost in thought, until I suddenly stood before John's apartment, the world around me fading away. His car stood outside, a lingering echo of the broken trust that took me aback. Did he initiate this thought, or did it emerge spontaneously in Gina's mind? I craved understanding, and I couldn't bear to part with them. I chose to stay away from home that night. After packing my suitcase and parting ways with Gina, I found myself driving without direction for hours, lost in thought. The city flowed around me, streetlights weaving delicate patterns of light and shadow on the quiet streets. My thoughts swirled in a dizzying dance, caught in a relentless cycle of disbelief, frustration, and sorrow. How did we find ourselves in this moment? Gina had been my partner for 2 decades. We had woven a life together, nurturing our daughter, entwining our dreams, and facing our challenges side by side. And now, after all those years together, she was asking me to accept an emotional connection she still had with someone else. He is unlike any other.
John.
He was a man in whom I had placed my trust. He was a man I held dear as a friend. I eased my truck to a stop outside a weathered motel, nestled on the outskirts of town. The neon sign pulsed softly above the entrance, enveloping the parking lot in a warm, inviting red hue. I settled into the room, the weight of the day lifting as I sank onto the bed, my gaze drifting to the ceiling above. Rest eluded me. Her words echoed in my mind, making me question everything. She admitted feelings she had kept hidden for years. I have always felt this way. Yet, my heart holds a special place for John. The words resonate with a profound intensity, leaving an indelible mark. If she had drifted away from her feelings for me, perhaps the situation would have felt less complicated. Yet she did not. She professed her love for me, yet her heart seemed drawn to him as well. How could I ever measure up to the weight of what has come before? Given that it was she who had fallen in love with John first, how could I ever measure up? As dawn broke, clarity washed over me, and I knew what I had to do. I had no intention of becoming involved in this arrangement. I couldn't linger any longer for her to choose the path she desired. She had already embraced her decision. Upon my return to the house later that morning, I found Gina waiting for me at the kitchen table. A cup of coffee lingered, untouched, before her. Her eyes glistened with a softness, hinting at the emotions that had stirred within her throughout the night. Her gaze met mine as I entered, a spark of hope illuminating her expression. Your return has filled the air with a warmth that lingers, stirring emotions deep within. I placed my keys gently on the counter, then turned to gather the rest of my belongings. Her expression softened, revealing a depth of feeling. Henry, I implore you. I raised my hand gently. This time, Gina, it's not about me. You've made your decision. And now I am creating my own. She recoiled slightly, yet chose to remain silent. Instead, she gently brushed away the tears from her eyes. Where have you wandered off to? Are you referring to a motel? You could have remained here, she murmured softly. I released a soft, empty laugh. Lingering? As you consider how to balance your moments between me and John, I can't help but feel a flutter of anticipation. I gently shook my head, a soft wave of emotion passing through me. It's not the right time, Gina. That's not the way your story unfolds. She gazed at the table, her fingers wrapped around the coffee mug as if it were her sole anchor in a world of swirling emotions. I can't bear the thought of being without you. So, what compels you to take this path? My voice had softened, no longer filled with anger, but rather a gentle weariness. Soft tears traced delicate paths down her cheeks. He holds a special place in her heart as well. I tightened my jaw, then embraced the moments with him. She lifted her gaze with a sudden intensity. It's more complex than it seems. Indeed, I affirmed with conviction. You cannot possess both of us. You cannot expect me to embrace this situation and allow another man into the intimacy I share with my wife. Gina, I believe what you're requesting may not be equitable for me. Love should be built on mutual respect and understanding. Her expression contorted with a deep, unspoken anguish. It was never my intention to cause you pain. In that case, perhaps it was best not to. She extended her hand towards me, yet I took a step back. Please heed my warning. I'm struggling with this, Gina. I cannot. The silence lingered between us, thick and suffocating. At last, she uttered a sound, her voice soft and delicate, almost lost in the air. What comes next? I inhaled deeply. Now, we explore the way to bring this chapter to a close. Her lips parted, a soft gasp escaping as surprise washed over her. Are you referring to separation? What more lies beyond? She gently brushed her fingers across her cheek. I was yearning for us to discover a path together. There's simply no way, I interjected softly. The delicate dance of emotions often leaves the heart torn between two souls, each deserving of devotion. Yet, the truth remains that such a connection can lead to unspoken pain and longing. That's not the essence of love. She averted her gaze, lost in thought. I released a breath, filled with unspoken feelings. I will gather my belongings and find a different place to be for now. We'll discuss the lawyers at another time. Her voice lingered in the air, halting me as I made my way to the bedroom. Henry, I deeply regret what happened. I remained silent. Preparing to leave was more challenging than I had anticipated. Each drawer, each closet, and every piece of furniture whispered the story of our shared journey. It was more than the dissolution of my marriage. It felt as if my entire existence was slowly unraveling. As I reached the midpoint, I found myself needing to pause, sinking onto the bed, my hands trembling with an intensity one couldn't ignore. How had it led to this moment? John lingered in my thoughts, a constant presence I couldn't shake off. Was this all part of his design? Had he been anticipating the perfect moment? Was the event always destined to unfold in such a way? I glanced at my phone. Silence lingered between us, a void filled with unspoken words, leaving me yearning for understanding and connection. I couldn't allow that to pass by unnoticed. I completed the packing, carefully placed my bags into the truck, and made my way to his apartment with anticipation. John opened the door almost immediately, as if he had been waiting for my arrival. He appeared unfazed. I tightened my hands at my sides. "It's time for us to have a conversation." John moved aside, inviting me in with a gentle gesture. His apartment was immaculate, almost unnaturally so, as if he had poured all his energy into creating a distraction for himself through the meticulous order of his surroundings. He beckoned to the couch, inviting a moment of intimacy. "Henry, I sense the storm within you." I severed our connection. The depth of my feelings is barely touched by frustration. John let out a soft sigh, his fingers gently combing through his hair. "I never intended for things to unfold in this way." I released a soft, bittersweet chuckle. "Oh, is that so? So, how did you envision this unfolding?" He lingered in uncertainty.
"I'm uncertain."
He released a soft breath. "Henry, I find my heart drawn to her." My jaw clenched softly.
"Oh, really?"
"And that grants you the permission to attempt to claim her for yourself?" John's expression revealed a deep, unspoken sorrow. "I never intended to claim her. He let out a soft, lingering breath. I could no longer hide the depth of my emotions. I gently shook my head, a wave of disbelief washing over me. 2 decades have passed, a span of time to find the words, to let go, and to embrace the journey ahead. However, did you decide to wait until Marcy had left before finally finding the opportunity to express your feelings to Gina?" His expression contorted. "It didn't happen like that." "Then share your thoughts with me," I urged. "What was the experience like?" Stillness. I let out a soft laugh, tinged with disbelief. "That was my impression." John took a deep breath. "I understand that you may feel a strong aversion toward me at this moment." "I don't harbor any hatred for you, John," I murmured softly. "I feel a deep sense of compassion for you." His brows knitted together, a silent reflection of the emotions swirling within him. "Your opportunity has passed. The event occurred in the distant past, and it slipped away from you. Yet, rather than honoring the bond that Gina and I created, you planted this doubt in her mind. You led her to think she could embrace the warmth of us both. Yet, deep down, we understand that this is not the conclusion we seek." John felt a lump in his throat. What comes next? I released a breath, feeling the weight of the moment linger in the air. Is this the right moment? She made her choice. His expression softened, revealing a depth of feeling. I moved closer to the door, lingering for a moment before I reached for the handle. "Just keep it in mind, John," I whispered softly. "Regardless of what unfolds from here, you shattered this. You have marred this moment. And if she finds her way to you, you'll carry the weight of having altered a bond to bring it to fruition." I let the silence linger, not seeking an answer. I stepped outside, the door closing with a decisive thud behind me. After 2 decades, a profound sense of solitude enveloped me for the very first time. And Gina found herself at a crossroads, her heart whispering possibilities. The journey back from John's apartment was filled with a gentle stillness. Silence envelopes the space. The silence envelopes you, resonating within your very core, allowing you to sense the profound weight of all that surrounds you. I found myself uncertain about what I truly anticipated from facing him. A heartfelt acknowledgement? Reasoning? Could there possibly be a hint of longing? Yet John had found a quiet acceptance of his actions. What about Gina? She lingered in the center, caught in a moment of uncertainty, hesitant to choose. But I could no longer linger in anticipation. As I drove into the driveway, I noticed Gina on the front porch, her arms gently embracing herself. Her eyes carried the weight of sleepless nights. The vision of her, my beloved? How could the woman I had cherished for 2 decades appear so adrift and fragile? It nearly took my breath away. Just as I was about to lose my breath, the reason for our presence suddenly became clear to me. As I emerged from the truck, she rose to her feet with a graceful urgency. "Henry." I raised my hand gently. "Enough, Gina. Let's leave the words behind. I believe we've discussed the reasons sufficiently. It's time for us to part ways." Her expression softened, revealing a depth of feeling. "I wish we could continue our journey together. You have already taken that step. My voice was soft, yet resolute. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. That simply isn't the case. My heart is yours, Henry. Yet, your heart holds a deep affection for him as well. She shivered slightly. Can you feel the weight of that unfairness? I inquired. It seems utterly unattainable. Could you please clarify if you expect me to accept it? Do you expect me to act as if this isn't shattering my very core? She gently brushed her fingers across her cheek. I envisioned a possibility where we could discover a path to make it all come together. I released a soft, bittersweet chuckle. And what is it that stirs within you? Shall we share the experience? I have Mondays and Wednesdays, while John takes the weekends. Please take the situation seriously. She snapped, her voice trembling with intensity. I cannot, I replied, for that is what you are requesting of me, to embrace something that I simply cannot accept. And you understand that I simply cannot. She inhaled deeply, feeling the air fill her lungs. So, tell me, Henry, what is it that you desire? I tightened my hands at my sides, gathering my resolve before uttering the words I never imagined would escape my lips. I seek to end our union. Gina felt a wave of tension ripple through her body. No, she murmured softly. Henry, I implore you. I gently shook my head, a soft sigh escaping my lips. I cannot remain in a union where I feel inadequate, where doubts linger in my mind about whether your thoughts drift to someone else while you are with me. I am worthy of so much more. And so do you, my dear. She took a deep breath. I can't bear the thought of being without you. Perhaps this choice was not the wisest. A soft cry escaped her lips, and she hid her face behind her hands. For the first time, I held back my embrace. I was unable to. I shifted my gaze toward the door. I'll find a place to stay for now while we navigate through this together. She lifted her gaze with a sudden intensity. Stay a little longer. Our gazes were intertwined. Indeed, I do. She remained silent. She felt the truth of my words resonate within her. Before I departed, there was one final soul I needed to encounter. Emma is our beloved daughter. At 21, she found herself in the poignant moments of her final year at college. I wished for her to discover these moments in a more personal way, not through the distance of a phone call. I arrived at her campus, anticipation swirling within me as I lingered outside her dorm. When she finally emerged, her face radiated joy, but that brightness dimmed as she caught the expression on mine. Dad, she inquired, her smile dimming. What troubles your heart? I released my breath gently. There's something important we should discuss. Her gaze lingered on me for a heartbeat, then she gave a subtle nod. All right. We lingered in a serene cafe close by. I spoke my truth plainly. She had reached an age where the truth could resonate within her soul. As I concluded, she remained there, captivated and speechless. Has Mom found her heart drawn to another? I gave a gentle nod. She expresses her affection for each of us. Emma let out a soft, dismissive laugh. That's not the essence of love. A wistful smile tugged gently at my lips. That is precisely what I expressed. She gently brushed her fingers through her hair. Words escaped me in this moment. I sensed there was something unusual between you two, but I never anticipated this turn of events. I felt the same way. Emma's gaze became tender. How are you feeling? I took a deep breath. I shall be. Her fingers brushed against mine as she gently clasped my hand across the table. Regardless of the circumstances, my heart is with you. That nearly shattered my spirit. I offered her a gentle nod. I wanted you to be the first to know. She let out a soft sigh. What about her? What does she hope for? She desires to hold on to the marriage. Emma's brow furrowed in thought. Should I keep John as a secret companion? I remained silent. She released a soft sigh. That doesn't seem right for you, Dad. I understand. She gently shook her head, a soft expression crossing her features. She is thinking only of herself. I chose to remain silent. Does John truly understand the impact the situation is having on you? She inquired softly. I released a soft, empty chuckle. I have my doubts about his feelings. Emma tightened her jaw, a wave of intensity washing over her. What a foolish choice. I found a reason to smile, even amidst the chaos. You can sense that in me, can't you? She smiled playfully. Indeed, I understand. When I finally returned to the house that night, a deep weariness enveloped me. Gina lingered in the living room, anticipation swirling around her. She spoke to Emma, her voice gentle and inviting. I gave a gentle nod. She took a deep breath. What were her words? She expressed her support for me. Gina felt a flicker of discomfort. I placed my keys gently on the counter. For now, I will find solace in a hotel. We can discuss the lawyers at another time. She lingered in uncertainty. Is it necessary for us to proceed with this? We exchanged a meaningful look. Indeed, soft tears glided down her cheeks. Yet, she chose to remain silent. After days of uncertainty, a soft acceptance washed over her, as if she finally recognized the truth of the moment. This had reached its conclusion. I gathered my bags, casting a lingering glance at the home we had created side by side, and stepped through the door. This isn't the conclusion I had hoped for, yet it was precisely what my heart sought. And for the first time in what felt like ages, a sense of liberation washed over me. The hotel room enveloped a serene stillness. Silence envelopes the space. Silence lingers in the hallway. The kitchen remains silent, untouched by the sounds of clattering dishes. The house feels still, devoid of the comforting presence of Gina's gentle movements. There I stood, alone with a suitcase, confronted by the poignant truth that my marriage had reached its end. After 2 decades, I found myself in solitude for the very first time, and yet, I felt whole in my own way. A wave of relief washed over me. The following morning, I found myself in the presence of a lawyer. I wished for this divorce to proceed with elegance and simplicity. I hoped for this divorce to unfold with peace, without any turmoil, and simply a gentle parting. Gina surrendered to the pull of her feelings. She had reached out to me the night before, her voice rich with feeling. I don't want this, Henry, she whispered softly. Yet, your desire for him is undeniable, I responded. Stillness. She felt it deep within her. I decided it was time to be genuine, to embrace my true self without any masks. Now, as I sat across from my lawyer, I felt a wave of emotions wash over me while signing the first set of documents that would initiate the end of our marriage. And for the first time in weeks, a sense of relief washed over me, allowing me to truly inhale the moment. I never intended to cross paths with John once more. I felt a deep yearning to shed my past and embrace a new beginning. However, fate had a different plan. Our paths crossed unexpectedly at the grocery store, of all places. He reached for a bottle of wine, exuding an ease that seemed almost surreal for someone who had unraveled a 2-decade bond. Henry, he murmured, taken aback. My gaze lingered on him for a moment. In that moment, I found myself taking a step I hadn't dared to take since everything began to unravel. A soft smile graced my lips. It came naturally. It was not harsh. It was genuine. I have reached a profound realization. He had not emerged victorious. Gina's choice of him didn't imply that he had claimed anything from me. I had liberated myself from a union that had lost its meaning for me. And John found himself embracing the fragmented essence of a woman who is still searching for her desires. I wish for your happiness, John, I murmured, my tone steady and soothing. He moved restlessly. Henry, I gently shook my head. Not necessary. I need you to know that I've reached my limit with everything that's been happening. I hold no animosity toward you. I don't harbor any ill feelings for Gina. I'm simply embracing the journey ahead. He gazed at me, a hint of bewilderment in his eyes, as though he believed I would carry my anger indefinitely. Yet, I found myself not in that place. I felt liberated, and that filled him with a deeper fear than my disdain ever could. A week later, I found myself in the presence of Emma once more. She had been reaching out to me, ensuring that I was all right. You seem more radiant, she remarked, her gaze lingering on me as we shared a cup of coffee. A soft laugh escaped my lips. I sense a newfound lightness within me. Her smile radiated warmth. Wonderful. You are worthy of that. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for her unwavering support. My mother reached out to me. After a brief pause, she confessed, and I arched an eyebrow in response. And she asked if I held any resentment toward her. A flutter of tension stirred within me. Could you please repeat that for me? Emma let out a soft sigh. I told her that while I don't harbor hate, I struggle to respect her actions. I reclined in my chair, allowing her words to envelop me. That feels just right. Her gaze met mine.
She's deeply unhappy, Dad.
I sense it. Uncertainty washed over me, leaving me momentarily speechless. Even with all that has transpired, I found no desire to wish sorrow upon Gina. Yet, I understood that she had embraced her decision, and so had I as well. As time flowed gently by, the finality of the divorce settled in. It was intriguing how swiftly life unfolded once I released my grip. I discovered a new haven, rekindled bonds with cherished friends, and began to embrace my journey for the first time in what feels like ages. One afternoon, I found myself wandering through a bookstore, lost in thought, when I unexpectedly collided with someone. I apologize. I turned, and a soft gasp escaped my lips. Her beauty radiated, complemented by her warm gaze and the gentle curve of her smile. "It's all right," I whispered softly. She paused for a moment, her eyes drifting to the book cradled in my hands. "Do you have an appreciation for historical fiction?" A soft laugh escaped my lips. "I love you, with all my heart. What about you?" Her smile radiated warmth, enthralled. Our conversation flowed for almost an hour, filled with warmth and connection. Her name was Laura, and she had recently arrived in town. After what felt like an eternity, a gentle warmth began to awaken within my heart. Yearning. Perhaps the chapter of my marriage had come to a close. Perhaps I had let go of something I believed would endure through time. Yet, life continued to unfold. As I stepped out of the bookstore, a profound realization washed over me. At times, what seems like an ending is merely a beautiful transformation into something new.